Today's event took place in Orlando, Florida, USA. Here you'll find the world's largest Universal Studios. Orlando is a tourist city, so it can be considered a paradise for children. However, in 2008, an incident occurred that made the entire United States anxious: the disappearance case of the little girl, Caylee. The girl's mother, Caylee Anthony, also became one of the most hated women in America. First police report call. On the evening of July 15, 2008, around 8 p.m., the Orlando police station received a report call. The caller was Cindy, reporting that her daughter had stolen the family's car and money, requesting the police to come and arrest her. The dispatcher said, "Okay, what's happening? I have someone here that I need to be arrested in my home." "Okay." Cindy said, "What did the person do that you need arrested?" The dispatcher answered, "My daughter." "For what?" "For stealing an auto and stealing money." Second police report call. A short while later, the police station received another call from Cindy. This time she reported that her granddaughter, the daughter of the girl she had just reported, had been missing for 31 days. Dispatcher, "Did I even learn what your emergency?" Cindy, "I found out my granddaughter has been taken. She hasn't been seen for a month." Cindy, "There's something wrong. I found my daughter's car today and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn trunk, okay?" Dispatcher, "What's the 3-year-old's name?" Caylee, Caylee. Anthony, "Is your daughter there?" "Yeah, can I speak with her?" "Okay, Sandy, Orange Department, they want to talk to you." Dispatcher, and to the dispatcher, "Hello?" Casey, "Hello, yes." Dispatcher, "Can you tell me a little bit what's going on?" Casey, "My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days. Dispatcher, "Who has her? Do you have a name?" Casey, "Her name is Zainaida." Dispatcher, "Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago?" Casey, "I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which is stupid." Anthony family background. The Anthony family lived in Orlando. Mother, Cindy Anthony, was a nurse. Father, George Anthony, was previously a police officer. They had one son and one daughter, with a very close family relationship. Daughter Caylee Anthony was an energetic girl from a young age, smart, humorous, sometimes like a tomboy, with many friends and constantly changing boyfriends. At 19, Caylee was still living with her parents. One day, she suddenly announced she was pregnant, didn't know who the father was, and wanted an abortion. She was afraid her parents would scold her. But Cindy comforted her and advised her to keep the baby, saying the whole family could raise it together. So, on August 9th, 2005, Casey's daughter, baby Caylee, was born. Cindy and George were the best grandparents in the world, caring for their granddaughter wholeheartedly and giving her all their love. Baby Caylee was very cute and lively. She loved swimming in the backyard pool with Grandma Cindy. Every morning, Caylee would run into her grandparents' room, place her 2 little hands on Grandma Cindy's face to wake her up. Very adorable. Side story about Caylee's biological father. When Caylee was pregnant, she had a fiancé named Jesse. Caylee told Jesse the child was his. After Caylee was born, Jesse did a DNA test and found it didn't match. But Caylee was so cute that Jesse still often came to visit and care for her, along with the Anthony family. Caylee's daily life. Caylee told her parents she worked at Universal Studios. So when Cindy and George were at work, Caylee would take Caylee to her office. At the end of May 2008, Caylee said she wanted to move out because her workplace was too far from home, moving to the nearby city of Tampa. Cindy and George, though reluctant to part with their granddaughter, agreed because Caylee promised to bring Caylee home once a week. The disappearance begins. Initially promised to return after a week, then it became 2 weeks because the car was broken and needed repair. Every time Cindy and George suggested visiting, Caylee refused because she was busy with work. When they wanted to talk on the phone with Caylee would say the baby was at the babysitter's or busy. By July 15, it had been 6 weeks since Caylee and Caylee moved out. Discovering Caylee's car. George received a call notifying that the family car had been parked at a towing yard for several days, requesting them to pick it up. The car was driven by Caylee, still containing Caylee's toys and child seat. The car had a strange smell, and George, with his former police experience, recognized it as similar to the odor of a decomposing body. The trunk had a few bags of rotting garbage. George found it very strange and told Cindy to contact Caylee quickly. Finding Caylee. Cindy found Caylee through friends, in an apartment in the suburbs of Orlando, not Tampa. She was staying with a boyfriend that Cindy knew nothing about. Caylee was nowhere to be seen. Caylee said the baby was at the babysitter's named Zenaida. Cindy brought Caylee home, furious because her daughter had left the car at the towing yard, left her granddaughter at the babysitter's, and was fooling around with her boyfriend. So Cindy made the first 911 call, revealing the 31-day disappearance. After the call, Cindy heard Caylee telling her brother that she hadn't seen Caylee for 31 days. On the morning of June 16th, Caylee left Caylee at babysitter's Zenaida and went to work. In the evening, when picking her up, Zenaida refused to return her and lost contact. Cindy panicked and immediately made the second 911 call. Something's wrong. Today I found my daughter's car and it smells like there's been a dead body in the damn trunk. Why are you calling now? Why didn't you call 31 days ago? I've been looking for her and have gone through other resources to try to find her, which is stupid. Caylee's strange behavior? Compared to Cindy, Caylee's voice on the phone sounded neither worried nor anxious, which was very abnormal. A 2.5-year-old daughter missing for 31 days without mentioning it to parents or friends, only reporting now, was already very strange. Later, Caylee's series of confusing behaviors further heightened police suspicions. Interrogating Caylee. That evening, the police called Caylee in for questioning. She said she had taken Caylee to the babysitter's house. Officer: he took Caylee to her babysitter's house. Yes. And who was this babysitter? Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. Okay. And where did you meet her? Who did you meet her through? Joel friend. His name is Jeffrey Michael Hopkins, and I met him at Nickelodeon Universal, and I met her through him. She was his son's nanny at the time. Checking babysitter information. Later, the police found Jeffrey, the colleague, who said he worked at Universal Studios in 2002, quit 2-3 years ago, never met Caylee there, didn't introduce any Zenaida, had no children, and never hired a babysitter. Reason for not reporting sooner. Caylee's explanation: reporting to the police would make it to the newspapers. If Zenaida saw it, she might harm Caylee. She didn't tell her parents because she was afraid they'd worry and scold her. She wanted to find her on her own. But later it was revealed that during those 31 days, Caylee didn't go out looking for her child, but was drinking, attending parties, even participating in a hot body contest, got a tattoo, Bella Vita, beautiful life, and wrote in her diary, "I believe in my choices. I know I made the right decision. This is the first time I've been this happy in a long time. I hope I'll always be happy." Attitude during interrogation. During the interrogation, Caylee didn't show the normal mother's worry and anxiety about her child's disappearance. Instead, she was more interested in becoming a personal trainer. Checking workplace. Caylee said she worked at Universal Studios in Orlando. The police wanted to see her office. On July 16th, she led 3 experienced officers walking for 25 minutes inside Universal Studios to a corner of the office building, then turned around, put her hands in her pants pockets, laughed out loud, and said she didn't work there at all. She had been fired years ago. The 3 officers were completely fooled by Caylee. They were very angry and arrested her immediately. Call from jail. That evening, she called her mother Cindy from jail. Before calling, she saw Cindy on TV appealing to find Zenaida and Caylee. Caylee was very angry. "Caylee, not telling me where she's at because I don't fucking know where she's at. Are you kidding me? Okay." "Cindy, please don't waste your call, no time, and holler at me." "Caylee, so whose fault is you're sitting in the jail? You're blaming me that you're sitting in the jail? Blame yourself." Checking the car with police dogs. On July 17th, the police sent police dogs to inspect Caylee's car. They found a stain on the trunk, with shape and size very matching Caylee's body. This could be traces left from Caylee's body once being placed in the car. The police took a sample of air from the trunk mat, and some hairs from the trunk mat for testing. The police suspected Caylee had been killed and the body had been placed in this car's trunk. But at this point, Caylee still insisted on her story that Caylee was taken by the babysitter. Checking the babysitter's house. The police asked Caylee to take them to the babysitter Zenaida's house. Arriving at the apartment and knocking, no one answered. The police looked through the window and saw no furniture inside. Later checks showed the apartment had been unoccupied since March. Caylee had said she left Caylee at the babysitter's on June 16th. Surveillance nearby showed no sign of Caylee in those days. Jail visit and reaction. While in custody, Cindy and George visited her. Cindy told Caylee that someone suspected Caylee had been killed. Caylee said, "That's a surprise." Cindy, "Hi, sweetie, we're not doing all capes." Cindy, "Someone just said that Caylee was dead this morning. That's probably surprised." Bail release. On August 21, Caylee was bailed out of jail. The public was furious that day, even banging on the Anthony family's door, cursing Cindy for sheltering a murderer. The person named Zenaida. On September 24, 2008, a person named Zenaida appeared at the police station in Kissimmee, Florida, suing Caylee because she had nothing to do with the matter. The name Zenaida was probably randomly picked by Caylee from a phone book, or it sounded like the anti-anxiety drug Xanax, which Caylee often took. It could be her own code, but anyway, there was no babysitter Zenaida, so there was no kidnapping of Caylee by a babysitter. The police became more certain of their earlier suspicion that Caylee was murdered and arrested Caylee for first-degree murder. Discovering the body. On December 11, 2008, a meter reader named Roy Kronk came near the Anthony home to read meters. After reading one neighbor's meter, he went to a nearby muddy swamp area because there was no restroom nearby, and the area had bushes for cover, so he went there to relieve himself. While doing so, he glanced and saw a gray canvas bag nearby that looked off, so he zipped up his pants and used the meter stick from his bag to to poke the gray canvas bag. The canvas bag seemed to contain something hard. He opened the canvas bag and saw a human skull inside. At first, Roy thought it was a Halloween mask, but he poked the meter stick into the skull's eye socket, lifted it, and was shocked. It was really a human skull. Roy immediately reported to the police. The police arrived quickly. This swamp area was less than a mile from the Anthony home. On December 19, the police announced that the skull was Caylee's. Testing showed Caylee died in mid-June, buried underground until December, so the body was severely decomposed. There were no injury marks on the skull, so the cause of death couldn't be determined, but the cheeks and mouth of the skull had been sealed with duct tape. George's failed suicide attempt. A few days after finding the body, at the end of January 2009, George suddenly disappeared. He went to a distant hotel, drank a lot of beer, took several sleeping pills, intending to commit suicide, and wrote a letter to his family. Fortunately, he was discovered in time with no life-threatening danger. George said he felt he wasn't a good grandfather, and because of his daughter's matter, he was attacked by people, couldn't find work, his whole life had collapsed, living was too hard, choosing death was the easiest. 2011 trial. In May 2011, Casey's trial began. This was a massive trial. From the 911 calls, the entire event had been reported by national media, even featured in Time magazine. Before the trial, Casey had already become the most hated woman in America. People eagerly awaited the trial, competing to buy tickets to attend, even fighting over a ticket. The trial lasted 6 weeks. There are videos of the trial process online. If interested, you can watch them. Here, I've extracted a few key points that I think are important to roughly outline the trial content for everyone. Prosecution side. The prosecution charged Casey with first-degree murder with 2 key pieces of evidence. 1. The air in Casey's car trunk was tested with a new laboratory odor detection method, detecting the smell of a decomposing body. The hair found on the trunk belonged to Caylee or Casey via mitochondrial DNA testing. 2. The car had a pungent chloroform smell, a liquid that can cause unconsciousness. The police also found chloroform search records on the Anthony family computer. The police believed Casey had searched for chloroform information on the computer in advance, then used chloroform to knock Caylee out, sealed her nose and mouth with duct tape to suffocate her to death, then placed Caylee in her car's trunk, drove around looking for a dumping site for a long time, and finally dumped the body in a swamp less than 1 mile from home. Regarding the motive, the prosecution's explanation was that Casey had always been a party girl, unexpectedly pregnant at 19. Caylee's arrival greatly affected her life. She felt she lost her freedom because of the child. Seeing her peers still partying, staying out late without needing to go home, 22-year-old Casey developed murderous intent toward her 2.5-year-old daughter. Getting rid of this trouble, she could return to her free world. This was reflected in her tattoo and diary. Defense side. Casey's defense lawyer, Jose Baez, said Casey was innocent. Regarding the body odor in the car, there had never been such an odor-distinguishing technology before. This was the first time it was used in court. It couldn't be used as evidence at all. Cindy testified that she didn't think the smell in the car was a body's odor. She said it was like a body's odor in the 911 call to get the police's attention. Jose also said those odors were from rotting garbage, and the high concentration of chloroform in the car was also from rotting garbage. Regarding the chloroform search records on the computer, that was Cindy's. Cindy said she intended to search for chlorophyll, but misspelled it as chloroform because the 2 English words are too similar. Jose also proposed Caylee's cause of death. That day, Caylee was swimming in the backyard pool as usual, unexpectedly drowned. Grandfather George saw Caylee's body in the pool and privately disposed of it. He also told his daughter Caylee not to report to the police. Jose also said the Anthony family wasn't as it appeared to everyone. The home was filled with violence and unhappiness. He said George Anthony sexually harassed Caylee when she was young, creating a huge shadow in her heart, forming a habit of lying to everyone. So now, after the incident, Caylee also lied to the police. None of what Jose said had any evidence. George, of course, directly denied it. Actually, looking at the previous dialogue between Caylee and George in jail, we can know that what Jose said was fabricated. Caylee, I miss you, sweetie. George, I know that. I miss you too. Caylee, I wish I could have been a better dad, a better grandfather, you know. George, you've been a great dad and you've been the best grandfather. Don't for a second think otherwise. Caylee, you're the best dad. However, Jose, as a lawyer, had a famous saying, "A defense lawyer doesn't need evidence. Just break the evidence presented by the police one by one." This saying was typically used in this trial and was effective. Trial outcome. On July 5th, 2011, after 10 hours and 40 minutes of deliberation, the jury announced that Caylee was not guilty of first-degree murder, manslaughter, or first-degree child abuse. Jury. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida. Thank you. The jury's reason was that the police had no substantial evidence. The crowd inside and outside the courtroom was in an uproar. Jury. The jury find the defendant not guilty. So say we all, did it at Orlando. This is like, oh, we do, absolutely shocked. He totally under wrong. In the end, Caylee was only sentenced to 4 years in prison for lying to the police, later reduced to 2 years, and was released on July 17, 2011. So, after the trial, Caylee only stayed in prison for 9 days before being released, because before the trial, she had already been in prison for over 2 years. On the day Caylee was released, to avoid reporters and others chasing and blocking her on the street and attacks, she changed many cars on the road and finally disappeared into the night. Life after prison. In 2017, Caylee reappeared in the public eye. She accepted an Associated Press interview talking about the events of that year and her current status. In the interview, she insisted it was her father George who did it, and she slept well at night. Caylee, my dad did. I'm okay with myself. I sleep pretty good at night. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. I don't care about that. It never will. Caylee now lives in Palm Beach, Florida, with private investigator Patrick McKenna. Patrick was once a member of O.J. Simpson's Dream Lawyer team. He helped Caylee open a photography studio in Palm Beach. Caylee accepting the Associated Press interview was actually to promote her photography studio, but because no one wanted to come for photos, the studio closed. Later, she helped Patrick with some investigative work. That same year, Caylee's parents, George and Cindy, also spoke out for the first time, accepting a media interview. The host asked George what his relationship with Caylee was like now. George's answer was that he has no relationship with her now. He said he doesn't want to see Caylee or talk to her. Is your daughter Caylee dead to you? George, well, I actually lost my daughter and my granddaughter in 2008. George also said that before the trial, Jose told him, "We need you to be the scapegoat. We need you to take the blame for your daughter." Now, Cindy and George still live in their old house. George said one day he wants to move, but thinking about how his granddaughter Caylee had so many happy times here, he's reluctant to leave. The host later asked, "If Caylee sees this video, what do you want to say to her?" If Caylee is watching this, what is your message to her? Stay away. Stay away from me. If she wants a relationship again with her mom, she's got a lot of explaining to do, but I don't want to hear it no more from her. Case conclusion. This episode's case ends here. The trial's outcome was unacceptable to most people. This case received such huge attention. Besides the mysterious cause of death of 2.5-year-old Caylee, Casey's lying skills and habits were also a very terrifying part of this case. During Casey's imprisonment, 2 clinical psychologists went to the prison to conduct a series of tests on her. The final results showed that Casey's psychology was fine, but this couldn't explain her lying and confusing behaviors. Analysis of Casey's personality. Reviewing Casey's past through interviews with her friends and family, we find she rarely got angry, rarely sad. She was always pleasant, lively, and very friendly. Even in inappropriate situations, she would do so. Casey always wore a mask in every situation of life. In daily life, it's hard to notice, but in such a case, her personality was like being placed under a microscope, magnified and scrutinized by people. So these traits were seen completely. Casey was very skilled at deceiving others. This had even become part of her subconscious personality. This is also a manifestation of sociopathic personality. No matter the situation or who the other party is, they always want to gain the upper hand. How did they achieve this? Through lying. She wanted to make herself look good and calm, not wanting others to see she was anxious. This can be seen in Casey's interrogation video, sitting with legs crossed, confidently talking with the police, perhaps using pretend calmness to cover inner anxiety. Only when her parents visited her in prison did she reveal her true emotions. Casey, my entire life has been taken from me. Everything has been taken from me. However, her crying was only for her current situation, not for her daughter Caylee. When her parents asked Casey any question about Caylee, she appeared very impatient. But when talking about herself, the tears flowed again. This shows Casey does have emotions, but these emotions are inward, not outward. She considers only herself. Casey reminds me of the woman I talked about before who did handstands during interrogation, Jody. Both are good at lying, and their performances during interrogation are very confusing. Also, in the episode about Sev, who harmed her family, I mentioned the concept of pathological liar. But pathological liars refer to those who long-term tell various exaggerated lies. These lies may be so exaggerated that people can't believe them at all. But Casey in this episode is a bit different. There's a concept called compulsive liar. Unlike pathological liars who lie for attention and sympathy, compulsive liars have no identifiable motive. They lie no matter when or in what situation. They lie not to avoid risks or to gain benefits for themselves. I think Casey is more like this kind of compulsive liar. Friends interested in this topic can leave comments to discuss. As for why Casey became such a person, currently there are no exact materials to elaborate on. Statistical data and conclusion. In the U.S., every year 80,000 children go missing, 12,000 children die unexpectedly, 450 children are killed by their own parents. I want to say hope all parents in the world are qualified parents. Hope all children can grow up happily. Please, everyone stay vigilant, stay safe. See you next episode.